here that you can see, these are all people's whose houses were destroyed, and they're up here now because they don't have anywhere else. They don't have anywhere else to go, so they've kind of just assembled up here in this Walmart parking lot. This Walmart's going to be closed for probably the next 2 or 3 weeks. So there's also this going on here. And that's essentially everything there. Hello, I'm Alan Hoover, the president of R2C2 Global Inc. And this here is our narrative of when we came to the aid of the Hurricane Ian disaster with another business partner and friend, Gary Langer of SG Outdoors. And together, under the R2C2 Global Inc. name, we did the following actions. We raised 250 volunteers approximately within 48 hours. Only 65 actuals were in compliance with the volunteer consent and release documents that we had. With that stated, the remaining personnel didn't fill out the consent documents but decided to stay and contribute, and we were grateful to have them among us. R2C2 Global received a MOU from the chief of the fire department to transport firefighters on and off his island of Captiva. The Pineisland Fire Department, U.S. Coast Guard, and Sheriff Department requested transport of civilians off the island in as safe of a manner as possible. With the 52 boats that came to the aid as volunteers, we were able to transport 1,348 families, around 3,000 souls, and provided medical aid to about 10% of the total number of victims. We brought in a former Navy SEAL team and multiple doctors and nurses with search and rescue personnel that were all volunteers to find, provide medical aid, and then transport to the ports, and then transport to the mainland. Then we fed them, clothed them, provided them with liquids, and finally safely handed them off to FEMA shuttles. Also, with a local indigenous person, an expert, we performed a reconnaissance mission on the local American Indian protected land of the Calusa people, which is protected through the United States Department of Interior. This protected land does need a significant amount of archaeologists and qualified site professionals to repair the historically destroyed artifacts and landscape of the protected lands. We also brought in a former JSOC and JTAC team to clear the northern runway so that airdrops could begin insertions. Over 36 airdrops came in, and this also allowed the Florida National Guard to insert in the area as well. We assisted the public store food chain with support to assist in getting their needed store and pharmacy back up and running. All this was done as a donation from R2C2 Global Inc. to this business entity. Additionally, we assisted the Winn-Dixie store and food chain by assisting in getting their personnel on and off the island, coordinated with the local law enforcement authorities for the massive convoys, and worked in sourcing mechanized equipment and operators to assist in the offloading of their supplies, and all of this was done as a donation from R2C2 Global Inc. to this business entity. We helped to restore the local medical clinic, which is a vital asset to the island, secured medical donations and medical personnel to assist the clinic. We picked up and dropped off both prescriptions and medicine to the local disabled and elderly population throughout the local island. It's a medical clinic and public shopping center pharmacy. We secured an excavation company with millions of dollars of mechanized excavation equipment that has been clearing the fallen vegetation from the roads, power lines, sidewalks, and civilian properties to allow safe passage of the first responders, the electric power companies, working to restore power to the island and allow safe communication and transportation of the local civilian population. This excavation company from Tallahassee, which is owned by Ryan, is still out there to this current time working. We can say with confidence that we saved 1,348 families' lives and provided quantitative and qualitative life support to 9,000 American Floridian citizens within the southwestern Florida geographical area. I personally slept in the dirt and in a tent for a couple hours each night with no showers or hygienic first world conveniences to ensure that the operations were as smooth, safe, and seamless as possible while buffering the relationships between the civilians, municipalities, and victims for a conducive outcome. I personally provided a 1.5-hour recorded after action report and brief to a FEMA captain for the problems with recommended solutions, which identified friction points and the ability to ease those in the future when it comes to volunteer operations, civilians, and municipalities responding in a crisis. We brought in over 10,000 pounds of food and distributed it to the islanders as donations. We brought in over 20,000 volumes of water and distributed it to the islanders as donations. We brought in thousands of gallons of gasoline and diesel and distributed it to the islanders also as donations. Every item we received was a donated item and was distributed as a donated item. We set up a donation link on the corporate website so we could raise funds to provide aid as the footprint continued to grow, and also to help with some of the logistical complications within R2C2 Global. There was an issue where local agitators attacked us with salacious accusations, which resulted in us removing the donation link and refunding the monies that were donated. After interacting with local law enforcement and reporting the agitators, we then restored the donation link. The following SOPs, or standard operation procedures, that were explained to every official volunteer that arrived for the briefs. The following SOPs were issued and they were non-negotiable. Every volunteer that traveled to the island would have a minimum of 72 ounces of clean drinkable water and 6 meals on them for their personal use. Every volunteer would not be in a group smaller than 2 people at any time to ensure their safety. And no one was to be on the island after 1900 hours, essentially 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As the Coast Guard explained, they would have evacuation boats and personnel in place every day until that time. In addition to that, that was the agreement from the fire department to R2C2 Global, so that our volunteers would be there in a hopeful manner and would not end up as becoming victims themselves. Preceding the construction of the bridge, the commander of the Lee County Sheriff Department concurred that the volunteers were no longer required and that he was grateful that they were there. So I thanked the volunteers for everything that they had provided, and we asked them to vacate and explain that now that the bridge was rebuilt, their transportation services would no longer be required. The last 14 days has been an experience that I will never forget and that will live with me for the rest of my life. I am grateful and honored to have been here to help these people through this catastrophic event. And I hope and pray that as time continues to go, the island is rebuilt to a capacity that was better than it ever was before. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. And we look forward to seeing this island become restored. This is Alan Hoover, president of R2C2 Global Inc., and I'm signing out.